Well, hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Around the Town with Mark. I am Mark Whalen, your host, and we're always glad to have you tune in and visit with us. I have another wonderful guest to share with you today. A very, very lovely, stylish, accomplished lady. Her name is Alexandra Stoddard. So let me go right ahead and introduce Alexandra Stoddard to Around the Town with Mark.
It's wonderful to be here, Mark.
Well, Alexandra, it's wonderful to have you here today.
It's fun.
It's fun. Well, we're just getting started. It's going to get even better.
I know.
So please introduce yourself to my audience and tell us just a little brief note about who Alexandra Stoddard is.
I'm an 82-year-old woman, and I've found happiness in my own life, and I want to spread the joy of a well-lived life with other people the best I can.
Well, I think that's
And
I think that's wonderful.
and it's just I'm very fortunate that I've been able to write books and talk around the country and the world and have international interior design work. I used to be an interior designer, and spread the word of beauty also is so important in our lives, and be able to enrich all of our daily lives by the little things we do for ourselves and others.
That's wonderful. Well, what you may not know about me, Alexandra, which I don't think you do, is I also have been an accomplished interior designer.
Oh, I know about you. I know that.
Oh, have
we
I
share
mentioned-
that. Yes.
Oh, we have shared that.
We've
Okay.
shared that, yes.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yes, in New York.
Soon I forget. Yes,
Yeah,
New York, and I had a big project, a 2,000-acre estate in Charlottesville, Virginia,
Wow.
where I did the main house, the guest cottages, the pool cabana, all kinds of things. So it's a joy of a job to have. It's being creative, being whether you're writing a beautiful book or selecting a carpet or a color on a wall. Being creative is just such a joy in life.
It's everything, because we are creative beings. We because we're human, we can create, and we make choices. Hopefully, choices that are useful for us and for others, and make the world a better place. And beauty is so important.
It is very, very important. And being creative in so many different ways, being whether it's a piece of artwork that you hang on a wall, or joy that you give to somebody by the nature of a good word to somebody else. Not everybody tells somebody, thank you.
Gratitude is really one of the keys to happiness.
It is.
And
It's not shared enough.
I know people are not as generous spirited as they can be, and it only gives them more happiness and more enrichment.
It is.
When you share, Peter, remember Peter very well.
Yes,
My
please.
beloved husband who died 9 years ago.
Yes,
And,
bless his heart, he was such an elegant man.
Yeah, elegant, wonderful mentor to me, and a muse and a guiding light, and very brilliant.
Yes.
And he always said, a compliment compliments you. He said, it's the beginning of a friendship. When you say something nice to somebody else or reach out to them in any way at all, it adds a little angel on your shoulders.
And that applies to everyone, whether, if you share a smile and a thank you, be it a teller at a bank or somebody in a fast food service, whatever, a restaurant, you share a thank you and a smile, it rewards you in so many different ways.
In the 1200s, Michael Eckhart said, if you only have one prayer and 2 words, thank you. You just have to say thank you and please, and sometimes it's necessary to say I'm sorry.
Yes.
Because we, made a little mistake. We overlooked something that we feel we want to.
Well, that's one of the benefits of being human.
I know.
Is to be able to know that you're fragile too, and you make mistakes, or you may say something that's not necessarily correct at the moment, but you acknowledge it, and you go on from there, and you learn from what you've said.
experience is much more important than theory.
Yes.
We have to live through a lot of things that we learn a little bit the hard way.
Well,
But the mistakes do make us better.
well, they do, and Lord knows I can say I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, and men tend to make more mistakes than women.
I wouldn't get into that. I don't think so, Mark.
I think
No.
that I think.
Well,
Oh, I think men mature so much slower than women do. Don't you think?
I have never been a man, so I really don't know.
Oh, okay.
But I can tell you that we're going to get into a deep conversation here because I like it that way. Women have been asked to play roles, and I've never played a role.
Right.
When I was a little girl, I had an older brother and a younger brother, and I had an older sister. And I was a tomboy. I climbed trees.
Good for
I was
you.
tough. I played baseball. I just saw a picture of myself. I'm going through all my slides. I have thousands and thousands of slides from my interior design career. My mother had slides, and when she died, I inherited all her pictures and her slides. And I saw, so my 8th birthday, I'm playing softball. I mean, in other words, I'm not a little princess. I'm not a Barbie doll. I'm playing softball, and I'm good.
Yeah. Good for you.
When I was volunteering to create a house, Habitat for the Humanities, for my hero, Jimmy Carter, and Jimmy and his wife, I mean, bless him, he's 100 years old.
Yes, yes.
And I met him at the White House and shook his hand and said, it's an honor to meet you, Mr. President. And he said, Mrs. Stoddard, the honor is all mine, in a Southern accent, so sweet.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I was a host on HGTV, when they first started,
Yeah.
Home and Garden Television.
Yeah, I know you have a
we were,
great
I was one of
career.
I had my own show, Homes Across America. Hi, I'm Alexandra Stoddard. Welcome to Homes Across America. It was fun. We went to different houses and we
Yeah.
talked about them.
Wonderful.
But when I was asked, all the hosts on the shows were asked to build a house. We built a house in one day. Of course, they prefab everything, and
Sure.
it's very exciting when the walls go up.
Right.
But I had my hard hat on, and I went in there. And when I worked for the Singapore government, and they were building their permanent residence in New York, and we were building a building, I had my hard hat on, and I was out there at the very beginning with the engineers. I mean, I wasn't building the house, but I'm tough, and I like being tough, and I'm a woman, but I feel it's very important for me to not play any roles, because I feel very fluent in my relationship with the world.
That's one of the things I have always admired about you, and that's why you're sitting here in this chair today talking with me, is because I saw that in you, and I saw the strength in you, and I so admire that strength in you, that you are courageous, and you do put yourself forward, and you move things forward. And that's a
thank you.
tremendous asset for anybody.
But I'm a balcony worker. I do it quietly.
Yes.
I must say that when Peter Brown was head of this fundraiser, it was a purse that was 150 years old. It was called the Riot Relief Fund. And he was the head, and he was president for 50 years. And I was the wife. But when September 11th came along, I wasn't just the first lady, the wife. I took a very active role because Peter was older then, but
Right.
he wrote handwritten letters. He was the first organization to give, after September 11th, the checks, the actual checks,
Yeah.
to go to these families with 7 children. They had no money. They lost their breadwinner.
Yeah.
And when the police, one of the fire chiefs came to our house to pick up the checks, we had red envelopes, red for fire and blue for the police.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
we were hands-on involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Peter just pouring his heart out. We got families to donate a Christmas to these families,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
birthdays. I mean, but we did it quietly
Yeah.
because that's what we did, and it was entirely volunteer. Entirely volunteer. Every single person that he had on his board was volunteer. And I just feel that so many people want their name on a marble plaque when really it's every day. When you were talking earlier about the person that packs your groceries, I know these people's names because they have a big name tag.
Yeah,
What's more important than your name,
right.
Mark?
Exactly.
What's more important? Don't you want to be recognized as a human being that has a soul?
And I also do I not want, I want to be recognized, but it's important for me to recognize you and the next person and the next person. That to me is more important than me being recognized, is knowing that the other people around me that maybe do for me or help me in some way or another, that they are recognized.
I want you to know that I wrote last month in my website, I wrote about being humble and being kind. Be humble and be kind. There's a song. But you can always be humble and kind. You could always help somebody else, just in the smallest way.
Just going to pick up your mail at the post office and saying thank you.
Yeah.
Opening the door for somebody, going out of the door. It's the tiniest things in life that make big things important.
But it's the tiny things that you and I might do every day. I'm not tooting my own horn right now, but I am saying that I care deeply about people. Every single person that I meet is a human being with a soul. They have their own family situations or no family.
Of course, of course.
And so the more you live your life, I've lived these, no one in my family has ever lived to be 82. I'm 82. Every day is precious to me. I'm here.
Yep.
And thank you. I'm at the banquet of life. And I care deeply about being able to give back and being able to be useful.
Well, I'm no spring chicken, but I like to give back too.
I know. It's important.
It's important.
It makes me happy.
I love that introduction that we obviously have Alexandra's books in front of us here. The first one I want to show is, which is appropriate for mentioning now, is Living a Beautiful Life. 500 ways to add elegance, order, beauty, and joy to every day of your life. What a beautiful title for a book.
That book came out in 1986, Mark.
Well,
And it's a classic.
I don't care if it came out in 1886.
I know.
I
love the fact. I mean, people all over the country were having little Living a Beautiful Life sessions in their living room when they were having people over for tea. We can add the little Allah to our day, the little underdish. We can just make life a little bit more pleasant for ourselves and others, just by adding a little color, a little grace note here and there. And as you know, as a interior designer, we helped enhance people's happiness. They felt better about their environment, better about themselves, and we listened to them and had their dreams come true.
Yes, but my best client, the estate I did in Charlottesville, they said, Mark, you know, we have this home, but we don't know what to do with it. And can you show us? And they said, we don't know what we want, but can you show us what we want? And I showed them the gift of beauty. They appreciated what I had to offer to them, and it enriched their lives, and it made them happy. And it was like, please show us more. And it was more than just a paying job. That ability to be able to create for somebody else was a tremendous gift for me, to make their space something that they wanted to live in, be in, and share with their family.
I'm not ashamed of the fact that I earn money as an interior designer.
Well, I'm not either. Let's face it.
I'm not. But the Buddha would say right livelihood. In other words, we were earning it in an honorable way by contributing to other people.
and thoroughly enjoying doing that. The creative is
The energy is just.
the energy is tremendous.
I also was fortunate as an interior designer to design some furniture and some textiles, and to go into the studio. It's Scalamandre Silk, and with all those professionals, and say I know nothing, but I'm here to. They would give me black and white 18th century documents, and I had to put 33 colors or 38 colors in them, and whoo, I was hallucinating colors for months. But color is very important to me. I'm a mood dresser. I just love different colors at different times of day and night, and I just really love to bring out help other people to find their color palette and to help them nurture themselves. But right now, I'm not doing any interior design work anymore. So I'm doing it a little bit differently. Now that I'm not writing books anymore either. I mean, I'm writing them, but I'm not publishing them.
Well, we have 3 beautiful books in front of us. Would you like to mention a little bit about each book that we have?
Sure, why not? Choosing happiness. One of the things that I've always wanted to write about has been happiness. And I had a literary agent. He died 10 years ago. And he finally let me write a book about happiness. He said, "Oh, you can't do it. It's too elusive. Nobody's happy. Nobody knows how to write about it." And he didn't say you're too dumb, but he really sort of said, "You can't do it." And I was determined.
That's a challenge to me. You tell me I can't do something,
Oh,
I'm going
boy.
to do it.
So I became a doctor, and I was some kind of a psychiatrist or psychologist or a philosopher or some brainy scientist, and I was Dr. Stoddard. It was a disaster. I was trying to pretend I was smart, and I was because I was quoting all these doctors, case histories about pathology and misery and Freud and everything. So that book was turned down. They said, "But we see 2 other books in it." And I said, No, I want to write my book. So I went down to the point, sat on a rock, and saw all the boats go by, and the waves were coming in. I was crying, and I had a good cry. I really did. I cried real tears.
Okay.
And then I pulled myself together, got myself off the rock, and went home and went to my writing room, and I wrote book 2. Book two was very spiritual. It didn't have any. It was way up in the clouds. I went way overboard.
Okay.
Oh boy, it was just, woo, everything's going to be fine all the time. And it wasn't grounded in any reality.
But it was an exercise that you needed to do for
I
yourself.
had to go through, and it wasn't a draft, it was a whole book. And so I
Okay.
wrote 2 whole books, so book 1, book 2. So then the publisher said, "Is there anything I can ever do for you, Alexandra?" At a publishing party for another book that I'd written. And I said, "Yeah, you can publish a book about happiness, but I haven't written it quite yet." So we had lunch with my editor, and she said, "Well, what makes you happy, Alexandra?" And the book just poured out of me.
Oh, fabulous.
Choosing happiness. So
Great.
it's a choice. And Peter Brown gave me this little, no one can see this, it's too small, but it says, "Love and live happy." Peter gave me that little tiny box when we were first married.
Oh, that's
And
lovely.
it's a little tiny pill box, and I don't take, I wasn't taking pills. It's just more of a
Sure.
gracious little Nini, a little bauble. And there's a mirror inside. And I still have that on my writing desk to
Good.
this day. And I had it reproduced in a contemporary version of it. But I really believe that if you love, you can be happy.
Yeah.
And you live a happier life and a better life for the world if you're loving. So
I love that. And we have grace notes.
yeah, a daily meditation. It's an
Okay.
affirmation for every day. This is a chubby little book because it's every day of the year.
Okay.
You open it to any page, or the date is a good idea.
Okay.
And then there's a quote by somebody that I admire or that I did admire
how
30 years
lovely.
ago when I wrote it. And then you write your own little. Then I talk.
So you can open any page and have a new story.
Yes, but they all are relevant. Somehow they seem relevant. Somehow you make them. You make it work for you, and you think about it during the day. And then I wrote my own little grace notes to answer to the quotation, and then there's room for other people to write theirs.
Now, let me make note, we'll go to the third one, that on screen we have your website. And please, everyone
Yes.
take note, write that down right now, alexandrastoddard.com.
Yes.
And if anyone is looking to buy these books, they can go on your website to find out
Well, they can go to my website to learn more about me.
more about you.
And,
Okay.
and also the books some are available and some aren't, or harder to get, but people get them, don't worry.
But if everybody knows now, I know you're not
Yeah.
a computer person,
No.
but everybody knows if they want to find something,
Oh, they know how to get it.
they know how to get it.
Yeah.
They Google.
And
If you're 16 years old, you know more than I do.
Oh, my grandchildren, when they were 2, they were popping little buttons and doing things. So I also think that if someone has a question about a book or something, that they can contact my website.
Wonderful.
We will respond.
Good, wonderful. And I particularly love this one, being a married man, and I know how important it is to be a member of two. And it's one of the best things you can ever experience in your life is being a member of two. And the book is Happiness for Two. So
Yes.
please share a little bit about this book.
Well, I couldn't have been happier. I mean, my marriage was a love story, an epic love story.
Yes.
As you know.
I know
And it
from all the
lasted
years I've
40
known
years,
you.
legally married, 40 years, 4 months and 4 days. So I married, I absolutely married the man that I had to marry. He inspired me. He was a great influence on my whole being. And so I'm very, very grateful that he was a lawyer, Peter.
Yes, he was.
And
Yes,
he
I
wrote the
remember.
foreword to this book, by the way.
Okay.
And anyway, Peter and I had such a good time together, and happiness just seemed to be something that we shared. I mean, I wouldn't want to take him out of my life and think about my happiness. So I understand how important it is.
Well, I do too, because
It was commitment.
yes, and well, as I said, I'm a married man, and I married somebody that I never thought I'd be able to marry because it wasn't legal.
Oh, I understand all of that.
So
See, so you
now
see-
I have, by the grace of the powers that be, I'm now able to be a married man, where 20 years ago it might not have been possible.
Yes.
So I understand what it is to have somebody in your life that's important, that
Well,
you want that to go forward, and
Yes.
you learn
Yes.
and you develop with each other. It's definitely a learning curve. Let's face it. It's a give and take, on and off.
But Mark, I want to say that Peter and I, because I was his third wife, his other 2 wives died, and I had been married, have my two daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Peter and I sat down, and we discussed the most frank things you can talk about, and it wasn't a prenuptial agreement or anything.
Right.
It was just. I wanted to be sure his expectations weren't going to be that I was going to just cook every meal for him
Right.
and be home at the front door the way his mother was for his father.
Right. Right.
I was a woman that I had things to do with my life that were.
Every person in any kind of a relationship has a role that they want to have, and they want to keep, and they want to promote. And that's what makes a good relationship, is for each other to know what the other person wants, not just wants to have, but wants to give back. Because you have to allow the other person to give back.
Oh boy, I'm good at that. Well, because I love to be loved.
Well,
I love it when people acknowledge me and pay attention.
oh yeah. we all do.
I care deeply, and I'm sensitive. I'm vulnerable. I don't mind being heard. I just want to be sure that I'm giving enough. That's all.
Well, like I mentioned before, it's just a matter of going out to a restaurant, like we met in a
yeah,
restaurant in
yeah.
Mystic, and having a relationship just with the staff that
Oh.
they know you appreciate them, they appreciate you back,
Oh.
and it's just not a matter of how much you tip them back. It's a matter of how you treat them, and they treat you in return, and you develop a relationship, and it can be at a restaurant, it could be in a marriage, it could be, like I said earlier, just at the post office.
It doesn't matter where or
Doesn't
how you
matter.
meet or how you greet. It
Right.
matters how you greet, but it doesn't matter
But-
where the union is. Once I was
And I'm not trying to sound corny.
Wait, why do you feel corny when you're being real?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this is so wonderful to
Yeah.
have this moment with you, Mark, and I'm
Thank you.
grateful. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Oh, well, we've still got some time left, so
I'm ready to just continue. One of the things that I didn't tell you that I feel has really shaped my life, besides having a relationship with another person,
right,
an intimate, sensual relationship,
certainly.
is my relationship with my aunt. I had a really, really inspiring aunt who was an international social worker, and she took her three oldest nieces around the world. And I was older than my older brother. I mean, I was a woman, so I got to go. Nieces, not.
Okay.
So I was younger than my older brother. Anyway, so I got to go around the world when I was a teenager. And that started a whole new way of looking at life and seeing the world.
You learn so much by experiencing other people, don't
That's
you?
right. That's right.
Don't you really? Don't you think that's one of the most rewarding things about how you can grow as a person, is to learn about other people?
Yes, and to care.
Yeah,
To care. So-
yeah, to care. That's not everybody can do that.
Well,
Alexandra, I want to thank you so much for being here as my guest today.
you're a tease. It's so much fun.
Well,
Time just goes by so fast.
it goes by so fast, and we've known each other on and off from
Yes.
restaurants for years now.
I know.
And I remember Peter very well, and I always knew that you were somebody special. And again, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing the Alexandra Stoddard experience with me and my guests.
Well, it's been my pleasure, I can
Well,
assure you.
I
Thank
want to
you.
thank my guests for tuning in today at Around the Town with Mark. I'm very thrilled with my guest today. She's wonderful. I hope you enjoy her. Please keep watching. We'll have another show coming up real soon. Stay well and tune in to SEC TV and Around the Town with Mark. Thank you and good day.